Let me set up this segment, folks. My colleague, Mary Gamba, my colleague on Lessons in Leadership, a sister series we do, we sat down, Mary and I sat down with Dr. Lamont Repollet, the president of Kean University, the former commissioner of education in the state, an educational leader. We didn't just simply talk about leadership, which is a big enough topic. We talked about leadership in urban education. We talked about motivating young people in urban communities to make a difference. We talked about the role of a major research institution, as in this case, Kean University, in promoting the importance of urban issues. We're doing a series called Urban Matters in cooperation with the John S. Watson Urban Research Institute at Kean University. And we talked about urban issues. We talked about leadership. We talked about education, Mary and I, together with Dr. Lamont Repollet. We are honored to be joined by our longtime friend, Dr. Lamont Repollet, president of Kean University, the former head of the Department of Education in the great state of New Jersey. Good to see you, doctor.
Good to see you, Steve. How's it going?
Things are great. I got to tell you, I was in your office a couple months ago. It is an extraordinary office. Is that, when you moved in as president, is that just the way it was, or you do anything with it?
Just the way it was. It was renovated by maybe about 15 years ago, and you might heard the name Ann Estabrook. She donated some money. Ann Estabrook donated. She's definitely a friend of Kean, very philanthropic. She's one of our best donors, and she really renovated the space, and it's original.
It's an extraordinary university and an office there. Lamont, let me just jump right in. You and I, when we were together, we talked a lot about leadership and developing people and coaching, et cetera, et cetera. And P.S., Dr. Repollet was on his way when I was with him. He was getting on a plane. He was going to see a game. I think it was, who were you going to see? Do you remember?
See Deion Sanders in Atlanta.
Yeah, so, I just wanted to get a plug for Deion Sanders, a great coach. Hey, listen, your approach to leadership, we talked about this privately. I want you to share it publicly. The greatest, most significant influence on you in terms of your leadership style comes from what or whom?
I guess it comes from my family, my parents, really originated from understanding that kindness and humanity is the key, right? And my family didn't have a lot of money, but they had a lot of love. And they took in folks when they shouldn't have taken in folks. They fed folks when they couldn't feed themselves. And it started with my grandmother, the matriarch of the family, and then the rest of my mother and father. So I'm thankful. So at the core of who I am is really about people. I have this saying, Steve, is that, and it's not my saying, it's a quote, I'm not quite sure who said it, but it's people are the greatest asset in any organization. And I think once we understand that people are the greatest asset in an organization, then you become people-centered. In my case, in education, you become student-centered. And I think that as a result of that, you create this culture that surrounds that whole humanity. And I think, when I was Commissioner of Education during COVID-19, during the pandemic, and sitting there with Governor Murphy, I talked about leading with humanity a lot. I understand this is different, this is new. So sometimes we have to give grace. And I think in leadership, at times, it becomes stressful. And you have to be able to lead the humanity and sometimes afford people grace.
The other part of leadership, before you jump in, Mary, the other part of leadership that I know is deeply embedded in not just your philosophy, but who you are, is that you were a leader of a public school district in a highly urban community. Share with everyone where that was, where it is today.
Asbury Park, New Jersey, Asbury Park School District.
That's right. And you told me, and you told others, publicly and in private, that you expected more from those students than others expected from them, nothing but their best. How much of leadership and how much of educational leadership, Doctor, is predicated on high expectations of those, unfortunately, for whom too many people don't expect very much, and they're dead wrong about that?
So it begins with excellence, right? Just the basic standard of excellence. And I think that when you raise the bar, you give people the ability to strive for something, to aspire to something. However, deficit thinking is when you look at things and say, that's the way it is. These are the circumstances. And you know what? I'm sorry. These kids, these people, this individual, this organization, this company, that's who we are. And so my job is to make sure to show them who we are and who we can be, right? To turn the impossible to impossible. And I think that's always been my thing, really, the level of standard of excellence and what that means, and showing them. And then when they start to see that success of the level of standard, they start to understand, oh, it can be done, right? And I think, and that's that cultural mind shift we talked about, Steve, in the meeting in our office. It's really a cultural mind shift, going from that fixed mindset to that growth mindset. And with those individuals, when they have this fixed mindset, it's always complacency. It's always mediocrity, right? But when you have this growth mindset, it becomes the impossible. What can you do? And I think it becomes that, that vision. It becomes a dream, and it becomes a dreamer. And I think just being visionary. And those folks who've been successful over a period of time have been dreamers, right? Been visionaries.
Starting with Dr. King, who we talked about extensively.
Yes, and definitely. You're talking about someone here.
I see him right over your right shoulder.
Yes, and today's beginning of Black History Month. So of course it's apropos that we talk about, the contributions of Dr. King, right? And Dr. King wasn't the only one during the civil rights, but he knew that the spotlight was on him. And he had a responsibility to do what is right. And he talked about love. And he didn't go with the approach of violence. He talked about nonviolence. Is give a person a hug, have a conversation with them. Understand, respect there's differences between one another, but find that common ground when it comes to equality, when it comes to equity, when it just comes to just basic civil rights and civil justice. And I think as we start to really look at ourselves, it starts with our moral compass. And I think Dr. King said it right with his moral compass.
Sure did. And Mary, one of the reasons I wanted to do this with you as part of our Lessons in Leadership series is that one of the themes in our work is that the status quo is never good enough. And Dr. Repollet is talking about that right now, regardless of what it is, whether it was worst case scenario, the history of racism, discrimination in our country. Dr. King believed the status quo was not good enough from an educational perspective. Dr. Repollet saying in urban communities, not good enough. Mary, jump in.
Yeah, and definitely speaking about status quo and innovation, which is just the complete opposite. Dr. Repollet, can you talk a little bit? I live in Union County. I drive by the Kean University billboards all the time talking about Kean University as New Jersey's first urban research institution. What does that mean for not only Union County, but for the entire state?
That means that we're no longer just this university that sits within Union County, but we're a statewide entity, we're a national entity. And we're talking about this urban focus, right? And it's really looking at finding solutions to marginalized people and marginalized communities. And here we are, Kean University is a diverse university, the most diverse university in the country. And so therefore, you have a lot of our students that are from these urban centers. So just imagine you put a student in a situation where they're tasked to be able to come up with a solution, whether it's health disparities, whether it's food insecurity, whether it's housing, but looking through the lens of the college in which they're in, whether it's law enforcement, whether it's health, whether it's education. And see, to me, we talk about this urban agenda. Yes, we're very happy about this urban agenda because this urban agenda, it helps us, Steve, it helps us focus on our research, right? Because we can say New Jersey Research University. However, that's general, that's broad to where what's our focus. We want everyone to understand that we're going to now pinpoint and be laser focused on
right.
we do within our colleges that'll be focused on better in society, better in folks, better folks in their situation and finding solutions. So we're very pleased with this focus. And that's why it was important for us to be able to join forces and bring the Watson Institute of Public Policy and Research to Kean, because we knew that would give us the credibility in that area of urban research.
Let me clarify and give more detail. The John S. Watson Institute for Urban Policy and Research at Kean University, named after the great Honorable John S. Watson. Please check out our series, Remember Them. We remember his extraordinary work in the state legislature. I was proud to have served with him back in the day. He was the chair of the State Assembly Budget and Finance and Appropriations Committee. John S. Watson made a huge difference, the first person of color to lead that committee. And it's a one-on-one interview we did with Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman talking about her dad. But along those lines, we're also doing a series called Urban Matters in cooperation with the Institute. Urban Matters, about all the issues that Dr. Repollet just talked about. Real quick follow-up on this. Help us on this one. You've led in a school district in an urban community. You've led at the Department of Education. You lead at Kean University. Is leadership just leadership, regardless of whether you're in a local government situation, state government, or university? Or is there something different depending upon what field you're playing on?
No, I agree. Leadership matters, right? Leadership, and I tell people in simple terms, when you turn your head and you look back, if people are following you, you're a leader, right? However, if you turn your back, if you turn your head, no one's following you, you're not a leader. And so that means that whatever organization, small, mid, large, is that you're supposed to give them a vision. You're supposed to articulate where you're going to take them, right? And then you're supposed to have a mission set with goals and set with values of an organization. And I think no matter what size it is, if people truly understand that they know where they're going, right? They know how they're going to get there, and they know the outcomes when they get there, then guess what? The probability of them leading, following you is far greater. But if they don't, if you don't clarify your mission or your vision, and you look back, no one's following you because everyone is doing their own thing, right? Everyone is going out and about. So what it is really, I tell people, leadership in a nutshell is managing behaviors, right? How do you inspire individuals to do the work, right? How do you get them to do things that they don't see yet, but they have faith in you as a leader or faith in your organization that if I go that way, I don't know what's on the other side, but if I do go that way, I have a belief that this individual, this organization is going to lead me the right way. So it's really about belief. It's about faith. It's about leadership. It's about your vision. And if you don't cast a vision, then how are people going to follow? If you don't give them a blueprint or mission to where to go, they're not going to follow. So for me, it does not matter what size, whether it's a classroom, whether it's state, local, or private. I have this thing where I actually look at companies, I look at their mission statements, I look at their vision statements, I look at their goals, because I want to find out exactly where we're going. So when I have a nonprofit organization or any other group that meet with me, the first thing I say, okay, what goals do you have set for yourself? Because I want to know if you have a blueprint to where the outcomes is going to take us. So if I partner with you, am I going to point?
Yeah, and that's the essence of what Dr. King was all about, having a dream that he communicated effectively, inspired others to move toward that dream and put their lives on the line. And he ultimately sacrificed at 39 years of age, his life. Mary, last question, got a minute left.
Yeah, definitely. I often ask Dr. Repollet, people in academia, because Steve and I both have sons right now that are in college. What is the most important leadership or communication trait that our young adults need that are in college and going to be entering the workforce?
So I can tell you right now, it's if you look at the EQ of folks, right? You look at people talk about IQ, but I really look at EQ, right? And you're looking at that, it's listening. I think sometimes we don't listen. And if you listen, you can understand who you are. We don't reflect, we don't meditate. We don't take the time to find out who we are as individuals. Because other folks, I'm a parent with someone in college. I'm a parent right now with a daughter that's a senior that's applying to colleges, right? And sometimes I tend not to listen to her because I think I know what's best for her. But I left her alone a little bit, and let me tell you, I'm just surprised of the program she chose, the school she likes, whatever it is. So I think for students coming in right now, it's listening and really keeping your eyes open to things and get to know things that are different, right? Explore. And that's what I think is about, exploration, listening. I think those are the big things as far as leadership, because they're going to develop those skills. They're going to develop soft skills along the way. And that's where there's general ed courses, what they do for you is kind of build those foundational skills. But I think one part is just listening. And I say listen to your heart. Sometimes our head kind of confuses us, right? But our heart kind of drives us. There's this book, I'm going to plug this book called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Is this little shepherd boy, right? To me, that's one of my favorite books.
Love that book.
Exactly. It's about follow your heart. And you never know, you can wind up bending gold in that way, right?
Lamont Repollet, Dr. Lamont Repollet, the president of Kean University, a former commissioner of the Department of Education. We're smarter because you joined us. Thank you, my friend.
Well, thank you, Steve. I thank you very much for having me on here. I appreciate it. I look forward to, talking more about you. And I really more if I see you for Giving Day, okay?
Okay. Yeah. Mary's an alum of Kean University. She's getting hit up as she should to contribute.
Don't worry. I'll be there.
Got it.
Exactly. But thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it, guys.
You got it. See you next time.
State of Affairs with Steve Adubato is a production of the CAUCUS Educational Corporation. Funding has been provided by Choose New Jersey, NJ Best, New Jersey's 529 College Savings Plan. The North Ward Center, Atlantic Health System, Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, MD Advantage Insurance Company, PSEG Foundation, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, and by Newark Board of Education. Promotional support provided by NJ Biz and by CIANJ and Commerce Magazine.
What is your child's dream for the future? Doctor? Teacher? Architect? Whatever they aspire to be, a college education may realize those dreams. And NJ Best can help. It's the college savings plan specifically designed for New Jersey families. Start saving today with as little as $25, because now is the time to invest in their future. To learn about NJ Best 529 College Savings Plan, its investment objectives, risks, and costs, read the Investor Handbook available at njbest.com.